Hey there, this is Red. It's time for Red Reveals. So today we're going to talk about Air, Land, and Sea. And this is a game I just picked up recently. It's actually been out for a little while, but I just got my hands on it, so I thought I would talk about it, give it a play with one of my kids, and they enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. So let's talk about it. So it's a pretty simple game. Really, you've got two militaries that are facing off against each other. It's a two-player game. Box is pretty small. There's not a whole lot in there. So I think we're just going to dive right into what's in there. So let's see here. First thing we'll talk about is the components that are in the game. So in this game, you're going to play to 12 victory points. So there's some tokens to track victory points, which I am quite impressed with. So these are nice tokens for the game. You've got, like, this is your 6-pointer token, pretty good size. It's a nice thick token. So these are really nice. I'm real happy with that. So victory points. So we'll put them in a pile over here on the side. Get the box out of the way. You've got a rule book, which is here. Now the rules, I'm not going to go too in depth. We'll show the rules. I'll go over the rules as we play here because the rule book is 10 pages long. So there's not a whole lot in the rule book here. It's fairly easy to play. Like I said, I played with one of my kids, 12 years old, first go, and he was making some pretty good decisions right off the bat. He actually beat me, so I'm sorry to say that part of it. But yeah, so it's not overly complex. It's got some complexity to it, but it's not overly complex. All right, so what's going on in the game? In the game, you have 3 theaters of battle. I can put into play here. So we've got sea, land, and air. What's going to happen after every round is they're going to rotate to be air, sea, and land, air, and sea. Anyway, the goal is going to be in these 3 theaters of battle, each player is going to get 6 cards. And after all the cards are played, the goal is going to be to have the most points in each theater and then win 2 out of the 3 theaters. When you win 2 out of the 3 theaters, you win that round and get victory points. So the victory points are 6 standard for winning the theater at the end. Now, there are 3 things that you can do on your turn. So one of those things is withdraw. So actually, let's do a little bit more setup here. So I'm going to put out our 2 competitors here. We've got Dr. Lucky, and we'll go with Claire, our 2 competitors. All right. There are 2 cards in here that are the Supreme Commander cards. You're going to shuffle them up. All right, and then we're going to give one to Claire. She's going to get first player, and Dr. Lucky's going to get second player. So if you take a look at these, what we've got there is first player wins tied theaters. So that's very important in that if you've got, like in land, if both people have 4 points in land, then first player is going to win that. Now, problem is first player is going to go first, so second player can respond to what first player does. So winning ties is nice, but you've got some turn advantage, I think, as the second player. One of the things that you can do is you can withdraw. So what happens is normally when you play to the end, the battle is for 6 points. If you decide that you're losing as your action, you can withdraw. And then if you still have, in this instance, let's say you've got 3 cards left in your hand, your opponent only gets 3 points instead of 6 points, right? So you may decide that, well, this isn't going the way that I wanted it to. The sooner that you get out of that, the smaller amount of points that they're going to get for that round. So you played at 12, so 2 full rounds. If your opponent wins 2 full rounds, they win the entire game. So could be good to drop out if you think you're losing. All right, so we're going to start with Claire with first player. Dr. Lucky's going to get second player. Okay. Next thing you've got is a set of cards. So you've got 18 of these cards, and you've got a third of them are going to be sea cards that are blue. A third of them are going to be land cards, and a third of them are going to be air cards. And what's going to happen is you're going to shuffle these up, and each player is going to get 6 of them. All right, now we talked about one of the things that you can do on your turn is the withdraw. You have 2 other actions that you can do on your turn, and let me make sure I get the terminology right. So we'll We'll hop into the book here and make sure we say these correctly. So there's deploy and improvise are the other things, and then withdraw is the third one, right? So let's talk about improvise first, because improvise is the easiest one. So I'm going to give Claire 6 cards here. 1, 2, actually we'll shuffle them out semi-randomly here. There we go, 6. So you play with 6 cards. This ends up being your extra pile. We'll throw that over here on the side and try not to get it mixed in with our cards. All right, so improvise, what that means is if you look on the back of these cards, they all have 2. And when you improvise, you can play that 2 in any theater that you want to. So Claire could put this 2 in air, she could put it in sea, or she could put it in land. It's totally up to her choice. So that's the improvise action. Now, the other action, which was deploy, making sure I get it right. So deploy is what you're going to be doing most of the time through this game. So deploy, improvise, withdraw, all right? So what deploy is you're going to look at one of your cards, like she's got this super battle cruiser here. That means that she can deploy it in the sea because it's blue, right? Now some of the cards have extra effects on the side of them that will affect the play of games. So when you play that card, like these cards that have the little lightning bolts on them, they will happen as you play that card. Other cards have kind of an ongoing effect, which have this little kind of infinity symbol there. All right, so let's say Claire looks at her cards and she says Super Battleship is the right one. Now I'm not doing a whole lot of strategy here. I'm just looking real quick. So Claire drops out a Super Battleship. So she's got a big card in the sea at this point in time. All right, so next up is going to be Dr. Lucky's turn. Dr. Lucky's going to look at his cards and see what he's got. So he's got. So you're looking to win 2 out of the 3 here, and he's looking pretty good on air. He's got a bunch in the air. He's not too concerned about the sea, so he thinks he's going to start working on the land over here, and he's going to drop some heavy tanks out there. All right, so that's back to Claire's turn. So Claire's thinking, well, she was light on air. She thought she might go after land, but he dropped the heavy tanks out there, which is pretty good. So let's look at our cards here and see if they have any special abilities that help. I think she's going to use this airdrop here. So airdrop says, on your next turn, you may play a battle card to a non-matching theater. So she's going to go ahead and drop that out here in the air. So she's got to play that in the air. But next turn, she's going to be able to play in a non-matching thing. So she needs to keep that in mind. All right, so Dr. Lucky here was thinking air was one of the things that he wants to go after. So he's going to go ahead and drop his heavy bombers out there and get them ready to go. So he's pretty happy. He's not worried about sea, but he thinks he's doing pretty good on air and land here. All right, so Claire's going to look at her hand, and she's going to drop next is going to be this support card. So what the support card says is that you gain +3 strength in each adjacent theater. So she's going to drop this out there. And what that means is that she's going to get +3 over here and +3 over here. So even though she doesn't have anything, she's got 3 to Dr. Lucky's 6. All right. Dr. Lucky's it's gonna be his turn next. Let's see here. What's he gonna drop out there? So he thinks he's gonna drop this ambush out there. So what ambush says, and this is an important thing too, is ambush says flip a battle card in any theater. So that means he can flip a card over to its 2 side. Now, one of the things that you can't do is, see how this card is covering this other card? So support is covering airdrop. What that means is that he can't flip the airdrop because it's covered. So he could flip the support or he could flip the super battleship. So right now the support's giving +3 to both of these, and he kind of wants to protect his land. So he's going to flip this support card. All right, so then Dr. Lucky is done. we're back over to Claire's turn. So that was a pretty harsh one for Claire there. So let's see here. She's going to drop Disrupt. So what Disrupt is going to do is, one of the things she's thinking is she's wondering if she can pull this one off, because while she's got this one pretty much wrapped up, she doesn't know that she can get either of these two. So Disrupt says your opponent chooses and flips one of their battle cards, then you flip one of yours. All right, so she's got her Disrupt out there. Now, he's got to flip one, so he's going to flip this Ambush. Another thing to note is, right now this Ambush got flipped. If the Ambush gets flipped back again, let's say Dr. Lucky's got a card that lets him flip Ambush yet again, he gets to use that ability once again. Right now, it's backing away. So now, Dr. Lucky had to flip, opponent had to flip. Now, Claire's got to flip. Well, she could like flip one of these other ones, but she's going to flip this one back on so that she's getting a +3 there. So what she's looking at right now is she's got 8 to match Dr. Lucky's 8, plus she's first player, so she's winning that tie. So that's looking pretty good. She's lost the air at this point, but she's got this. Plus, I believe she's got another boost card in her hand. She thinks she might be able to pull that one out. All right, so Dr. Lucky's looking at, well, it's a little bit scary here because he's got a lot more air, but he seems to be contested. What's contested right now is our land there. So what can we do there? So he's got a transport and he's got an aerodrome. So he's going to play his aerodrome out there. So his aerodrome doesn't do anything especially awesome. It says you may play battle cards of strength 3 or less to non-matching theaters. So he could play one of his smaller cards, like maybe this transport over here, but he's got a different plan right now. So we'll get to that in just a second. All right, so we're gonna go back over to Claire's turn. So Claire's thinking, she's got maneuver, which would let her, I think she's gonna play that. So the two cards that she's got are blockade. If a battle card is played in an adjacent theater with 3 or more cards already in it, discard that card with no effect. So she could put that in for her super battleship. This already has 3 in it, so if somebody were to drop a card there, it would get discarded, which is very interesting. But then she couldn't play her maneuver, which says flip a battle card in an adjacent theater. So she actually can't flip. I think she's going to play her blockade. So she's going to drop her blockade out there and make sure that she's got the C. All right, so she's going to be done at that point in time. We're going to go over to Dr. Lucky's turn. All right, so what he's going to do is he's got 6 here, or he's got 8 here. She's got 5 plus 3. He's going to play transport. So what transport says is you can move one of your battle cards to a different theater. So he's going to drop a transport here, and then he's going to move his aerodrome over here to land. All right, so now he's got a pretty good setup because she's got +3 on adjacent theater. So Claire has definitely got the C. But over here she's got 3, 6, and over here she's got 5 plus 3 is 8. But right now he's up to 12, so he's looking pretty good. So Claire's going to look at her last card. Is there anything that she can do? So she's got this maneuver. It says flip a battle card in an adjacent theater. So if she does that, she can turn this heavy bombers into a 2. That would give her these 2 up here, and it would totally depend on what it is that he pulls out in the end. So she's going to go ahead and drop that there. So that's going to give her 8, but she gets to flip a battle card in an adjacent theater. So she's going to flip those bombers over. All right. So it's going to come down to Dr. Lucky. Dr. Lucky's got his containment card. So it's worth 5. If either player plays a battle card face down, immediately discard that card. So the problem is there's this blockade out there. And if you remember what the blockade does, the blockade says if a battle card is played in an adjacent theater with 3 or more cards already in it, counting both players, discard that card with no effect. So he can't play here because there's already 3 cards. So he could play here, but he's not going to get up to 11. He could play here. He can go back to the 2 and play here. But that's not going to get him the win, unfortunately. He could withdraw and keep his 1 card, but that's still at 6 points. That's the downside to being second player, right? As he hoped he could get the win, but he doesn't. So you might as well play the card here, and then let's look at what we have for power here. So on this side, we've got 11 and 1. So definitely the win for the C went to Claire. All right, then we look at the air. Well, actually, this should be 14 because the support gets +3 to each side. So this is actually 14 to 1. So yeah, Claire's got that one. And for the air, she's got 3, and Dr. Lucky's only got 2. So she's going to win the air also. Now over here on the land side, she's got 8. Dr. Lucky's got 10, 14. So he wins the land. But for the entire thing, she's got 2 out of 3. So Claire is going to get she wins, and there were 0 cards left in Dr. Lucky's hand, so she gets 6 points. All right, so to set up the next round, what you would do is you would rotate these cards. So you'd go over 1, the C would move over, and then we're going to take all the cards that we've got here, and we're going to shuffle them back up into the main deck. I'm going to shuffle these up, and we're going to swap our first and second player. First and second player. I'm going to shuffle this up. All right. And then you would deal each person 6 cards, and that's pretty much the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. All right, so Claire's second player, Dr. Lucky's first player. What's he got in his hand? He's got heavy bombers, heavy tanks. Ooh, he's looking at totally giving up the sea and probably going after land and air. So let's just say he drops his heavy tanks right off the bat. What's Claire looking at? She's got, she's kind of looking at her stuff, and let's see here. All battle cards covered by this card are now strength 4, so she could ramp up her army stuff, but she doesn't have a whole lot there. Let's see, it says, look at the top card of the battle deck. Can be played face down into an adjacent theater. So I think that's what she's going to start with. She's going to lead with the reinforce. So just so you guys can see that. So look at the top card of the battle deck. You may play it face down to an adjacent theater. So she's going to play this here in land. She's going to look at the top card and place it in an adjacent theater. So she got a maneuver which says flip a battle card in an adjacent theater. So she plays air, and she's going to flip his heavy tank. All right, so that's Dr. Lucky's turn. Wasn't really happy with that, but he's going to drop a heavy bombers out there because he's got the big guns. So he could hold it for the end and like surprise with it, or you can put it out there and stake a claim. He's going to put it out there and stake a claim. All right, it's going to be Claire's turn. So let's say at this point in time, Claire's not really feeling very good about what's in her hand. And she's seen a couple of big cards out there, and she's afraid he's going to flip. Like, she doesn't think she can get enough. She feels pretty confident about the sea, but her ability to get air and land are a little bit lacking. So she's actually going to decide to withdraw at this point in time. So she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in her hand. So when she does a withdraw with 5 cards, Dr. Lucky's only going to get 2 points. So So he gets 2 points. So then we take them all. I'm going to shuffle them all back up. And that's the end of that round. So everything gets shuffled and these rotate, right? I think we were going this way. Ideally, we keep the rotation going the same way each time. Shuffle all the cards up. First and second players switch between the two people. Claire ends up first. Oh, I got the jackalope. Took the jackalope out. Dr. Lucky becomes second player. And everybody gets 6 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So hopefully I gave everybody 6. 6, 6, 6. Yep. All right, and you would continue on. So keep playing like that until somebody hits 12 points, and then you've got your winner. So pretty straightforward game. There's nothing all that confusing in here. I'd say the big rules to watch out for are these rules that say flip. The thing to remember is if there's a card over the other cards, you can't flip a card. So I can't flip this ambush because it's buried. Now, there is another type of ability in here, which is a move ability, which I'm looking for. There we go. So if you have this card, which says you may move one of your battle cards to a different theater, if I had my heavy tanks and let's say cover fire out there, I could use my transport to move my heavy tanks, even though they're buried somewhere else. So move allows you to move things that are covered. You can't flip things that are covered, but you can move things that are covered. So, and yeah, that's it. So I really enjoyed this game. The rules are pretty easy to pick up, but there's a lot more strategy in this game once you get into it. So that's what I was noticing playing with my son. It's like when you flip and when you move things in the order that you play stuff, and then recognizing the cards that you have and when you decide to go out, like do you withdraw early on or do you play it out? Which cards do they drop? Part of it also is maybe I drop this card out here as a 2 and then I play another card to reveal it and it shows it up as a 6. Like there's a lot of different ways you can play this game, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm liking it a lot for a really simple game, but I would totally recommend this game. Air, Land, and Sea, and I'm trying to remember what it retails for. It's not all that expensive, and it travels pretty light, so not a solo game. You got to have 2 people to play it, and that's the only amount of people that can play it is the other part of that. So good game. Totally recommend it. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching.